we all stand for the opening prayer and pledge?
Father in heaven, bless us as we gather today for this meeting. Guide our minds and hearts so that we will work for the good of our community. Teach us to be generous in our outlook, courageous in the face of difficulty, and wise in our decisions. Thy will be done. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to call this meeting of the Hancock County Commission, Thursday, March 14th, 2019, 2:30 p.m. to order. Roll call.
Mr. President, all commissioners present this afternoon.
All right. First item on the agenda is approval of commission meeting minutes from February 28th, 2019.
Move to approve.
Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Under presentations, we have Ms. Sharon Kesseling, the Executive Director of the American Red Cross from Northwest West Virginia.
I can't believe it's been 4 years. This is my fourth time now to meet with you as Executive Director of Northwest West Virginia. And boy, have we been busy in those 4 years. But today, I'm excited to have you help us celebrate March as Red Cross Month and also give you an update on what's been going on with American Red Cross activities nationwide, statewide, and actually local. So let's start with the left-hand side of your folder there to remind you of our mission, which is to prevent and alleviate human suffering in the face of emergencies by mobilizing the power of our volunteers and the generosity of our donors. Then on the next page is a map of our entire state, which is the region of West Virginia, and we are part of the green area there. Green is 17 counties strong. That is the Northwest chapter, and that's where Hancock County fits in. And then on the right-hand side of your folder, you'll see first some information that I have for national things. Let me get my papers out here first. So, in everything I'm talking about is calendar year 2018. Very, really busy year for American Red Cross nationwide, with 8.2 million meals and snacks served with our partners to the folks that were impacted by disasters, and had 290,000 overnight shelter stays, installed nearly 400,000 smoke alarms, and made 165,000 households safer. Then also a reminder that in West Virginia, so far, since the concept first initiated in the fall of 2014, we've installed more than 22,000 smoke alarms and made 8,000 homes safer. Our full report is on the third page on the right-hand side of your folder there. And for West Virginia, we've assisted 1,000, actually more than 1,000 families that experienced a disaster in 2018, supported 3,000 people that experienced that disaster, and at least 80% of those, about 800 families experienced home fires. That's our most prevalent disaster in West Virginia. We installed nearly 5,000 free smoke alarms as part of the Home Fire Campaign, and since the inception, again in fall of 2014, 25 West Virginia lives have been saved as a result of installation of free smoke alarms and education provided to the families that lived in those homes. And we've educated almost 5,000 youth utilizing the Pillowcase Project, which is a preparedness educational piece for grades 3 to 5. On the back side of that paper, we talk about the fact that 21,000 people in West Virginia received life-saving skills such as CPR and first aid training, and that we served nearly 1,000 military members, veterans, and families. We conducted 1,500 blood drives and collected nearly 40,000 units of blood in West Virginia. And finally, on the last page, I just wanted to point out that we have a new app. I'm always bringing up the emergency app, different apps that we have. The new app is our Hero Care app, and it helps those in the military to be able to more instantly get the information they need for support, both active military and veterans. So there's information about that we've included in there. Now, to talk about a more local thing, let me again get my correct page out there. Okay, in Hancock County, in 2018, we had 11 responses that supported nearly 27 of your residents. Most of those were home fires. We had 23 services to armed forces cases that we performed. We had 207 people that took CPR first aid classes, life-saving classes. We installed 15 free smoke alarms. We had one class of 31 students that received Pillowcase Project preparedness information. We collected 44 pints of blood. And as of right now, we have 2 volunteers registered. And so I do this each year, and I'll continue to do it until I feel comfortable with the level, but we need more volunteers. Y'all know everybody, and please, my card is in the folder. Please direct them to my cell phone if they'd like to talk with us about different volunteer opportunities with Red Cross. They don't necessarily have to deploy. They can respond to disasters here locally, or perhaps they want to work with Blood Services, or even our Veterans Services for services to armed forces. Okay? And we're always looking for board members, and we're looking for community volunteer leaders. Just a couple more quick things. First of all, you have a proclamation, I believe, correct? If you want to go ahead and announce that.
Would you want me to read all this, or just?
You don't have to.
Okay, I'm going to read the one part. Whereas March is Red Cross Month, a special time to recognize and thank the Red Cross volunteers and donors who give of their time and resources to help members of the community. And we are going to have a motion to approve this proclamation, and I'll present it to Ms. Kesselring.
Move to approve the proclamation as presented.
All right. Any questions?
No.
No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you. That is truly in celebration of our volunteers. While you're down this way, I'm going to hand you another piece of paper. It is something a little different than what you're used to seeing from me. But this year, I'm asking of all of our county commissions consideration of financial support for our work. And that specific request is the same as it is in all of our counties, which is a $2,500 request. And that would go a long way to helping us, but if you feel that it needs to be a little smaller than that, a different level, that's fine too, because any form of support helps. We are a nonprofit, 501c3, so we are constantly reaching out to those we think might be able to financially support us. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
One last thing. I would like to take your picture and post it on our regional Facebook page. Do you mind doing that?
Well,
Nope.
Ready? 2, 3, go. And one more. Great.
You got it?
Thank you. It'll be on our regional website, or regional Facebook page by Monday, I'm sure, because I still have a couple more visits to do this week. So, okay. Any questions about anything we're doing here in your county? Or anywhere for that matter?
I appreciate everything that you do for those that suffer the tragedies. Thank you.
I will pass that along to our volunteers. They're the movers and shakers. We only have 3 staff people to cover all 17 counties. So if it weren't for the volunteers, we couldn't get the services done.
Okay.
So, okay?
thank you very much.
And I'm going to ask for a motion to make this request a matter of record.
Thank you very much.
So moved.
Any other questions?
No.
Okay. So the request is for support from the Red Cross, and we will make this a matter of record. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Okay.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, and you are allowed to leave.
Thank you very much.
You have a good day.
Okay, next on our agenda, we have a couple little presentations to be made. With us in attendance today is our humane officer of our county, Nicole Falusis. who is also the CEO of our animal shelter. And I'll give these to you, and I'll let you introduce your staff, and whenever you want me to start here, I will.
This is Ann Blankenship. She works at our shelter. And this is Rachel Price. She also works at our shelter. They came today to support our awesome volunteers who have put in so many hours and done great things for us.
Okay, so on behalf of the Hancock County Animal Shelter and the county in whole, we would like to thank some special volunteers who dedicate their time to our shelter and the animals. Volunteers are an essential part of the shelter. They ensure that the shelter runs smoothly and that the animals get additional socialization. Hard work and time and donations by these volunteers deserve to be noticed. So the first award will go to Mackenzie Pierce, who has volunteered over 43 hours of service to the shelter. And with Mackenzie today is her mom and dad, Tony and Kirsten, and grandmother?
Yes.
Her grandmother, Mrs. Jazerski. Do you want to get a picture while you're doing that one by one? We brought a photographer with us today. Might want to open that up and make the presentation.
Always have to pick a couple. That's good, thank you.
Thank you. Mackenzie, to you, thank you for what you do up there.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
And our second and third award goes to a little family tie back here. Is Mrs. Jean Tate for her countless donations and time given to the shelter. You're welcome.
We're very welcome. And we thank you for all that you do. Thank you very much.
And from what we understand, Mrs. Tate plays a big role in this next person who we have recognized before, but we are much happy to do it again. It's Madeline McKinney, a little girl with a big heart. Every year for her birthday, she asks for donations for the shelter in lieu of gifts for herself. And we can all take lessons from her selflessness. And with Amanda is her mother, with Madeline is her mother Amanda, her father Steve, Aunt Jen, grandmother Tina, and Mrs. Tate.
Whole case of pool noodles, and from what I understand, you had a special order them for our new project in the dog kennel. So I think that was super awesome.
And for you two girls, from commissioners, we don't get to see you. We have some animal cookies. So cute. And they have some kitten faces on it.
Oh, thank you very much. Isn't that nice? Look at that. Did you tell her thank you? I thought I was coming for you. They tricked me.
And as we normally do, you are more than welcome to stay, or you are more than welcome to leave, whatever you guys feel. Thank you for coming. Thank you. We have a scout here. Would you like to introduce yourself? Come up to the mic. Do you need anything today?
Oh, no, I'm good, thank you. I'm just here to get my
Observe,
done.
to observe a meeting?
Yes.
Will you need signatures or anything?
That would probably be helpful towards the end.
Okay, and you are
Oh, me, Lance Williamson.
Lance Williamson?
Yeah.
Well, welcome, Lance, and
Thank you.
proud of you for working on your accomplishments.
Thank you.
Okay, citizens' remarks. We have Rudy Rosnick.
Okay, before I speak, I got a couple of questions. Yeah, first, Commissioner Barnaby, before I speak, I need clarification regarding what I'm really allowed to talk about today. At the last commission meeting, you presented a motion to restrict citizens' remarks to only comments related to an agenda item. For this reason, I sent a communication to the commissioners asking that an agenda item be added for today's meeting, and it was labeled Open Discussion of Adherence to State Code. I see that you have an agenda item talking about the open governmental proceedings, but my point of discussion today was, a general discussion on adherence to state code. Because in Hancock County recently, we've had several different appointed boards, elected, government, organizations, that are breaking state code. And I was wanting to have a general discussion about that on Hancock County, because Hancock County is starting to get a black eye downstate for the way that our elected officials and appointed boards are operating. So, was the agenda item that you put on there in reference to my request, or is that just a general, item that the commission added?
Well, if you want me to take a minute here, Mr. Rosnick, we'll gladly play a tape of the last meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And before you play that, your request said, drawing his, that means me, good of the order comments, at the last commission meeting, Commissioner President Barnaby made a motion to restrict public input under the citizens' remarks section of the meeting agenda to only agenda items. The motion passed 3-0. Is that correct? Well, that's what you're stating.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's play my comments from the last meeting. Or call them under citizens' remarks. I'm going to ask Mr. Lucas to draw up a little bit of a policy of some sort or memorandum, addendum to our thing. That the citizens' remarks at the county commissioners' meetings are now going to be made to agenda items only. We're not going to be a launch pad for attacks anymore. Would that be possible? That's at their discretion. Right, so it's in Code of Ethics says we can do that. Speak to the agenda items only. Thank you. And so with that said, Mr. Rosnick, where was the motion and when was the vote taken?
Okay, you can say that there wasn't a motion, Joe, but
wait a minute. You said there was a motion. Now you're already
play
going
your words
downstate.
again.
Was there a
Play
motion
your words
taken?
again.
Was there?
What was your intent?
What was my intent?
What was the intent of what you were talking about?
To possibly have a discussion on agenda items only.
And if you do replay it, you'll hear where the intent is.
I
I'm not a
understand.
lawyer.
I'm not going to argue
I'm
with
not
you,
gonna
Rudy.
get into the
You
words
said that I made a motion and that the motion passed 3-0.
Okay.
Because on a future radio show, you said that we took action. I just don't remember it. And I wanted to play it because I thought I was wrong. And if you want another one?
No, I might
You want to
be-
continue the
okay.
accusation?
Okay, you did not make a motion. I see that.
So
But
this
what-
meeting
play your words
is
again, Mr. Barnes.
under the same guidelines as previous meetings, and our secretary stated that to you.
Okay, so you have no restrictions as far as what we're allowed to speak about?
Not today.
Not today? Fine. That's really what I wanted to clarify.
And I'd like to clarify one more thing with you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you also on a radio talk show, you alluded to the fact that a candidate stole the election.
No, I did not.
Well, you or your
You-
co-host. Your co-host. Or
I
the host.
cannot speak for what anybody
I'm not
at
gonna
any
play
of the
that
media
part,
stations say,
but
Joe.
you
I can only
stated-
speak to what I did not
Did
say.
you say we went behind closed doors?
Did I say you went behind closed doors?
I mean, I'm
I can't recall every word,
to
but I
verify
noted,
what you stated on TV, I also have to play this
I
tape.
didn't on TV.
On the radio.
Radio, excuse me.
Okay.
I'd like to call this meeting of the County Commissioners for the purpose of canvassing the votes from November 6th to order. Today's date, November 13th, 2018 at 1 p.m. Attendance? Mr. Fulton?
All.
Commissioners in person. Okay. Okay, what I'll do in attendance here is Commissioner Paul Cowie and Commissioner Joe Barnaby, and also Commissioner Jeff Davis. Jeff Davis is not allowed to partake in the canvassing due to him being in the election. We have County Clerk George Foley, and from the Clerk's Office, Valerie
Truax.
Truax. From the voting office, we have Barb Ross and Jeannie Ostrander, and our computer advisor is Jed. And in the back, Donna Jaluka from the Democratic Party. She's filling in for George Ash as a ballot commissioner, and Heather Campbell, she's from the Republican Party, filling in as a ballot commissioner. And our attorney for the county, Mike Lucas. Sorry, didn't see you there.
Save the best for last.
And if you guys would like to state your names.
David Wilharm.
Chris Pierce.
Rick Ball.
Greg Ball.
Okay.
Is Mr. Ogden present, or is a representative of Mr. Ogden present?
Hey, Albert.
Anybody here representing Mr. Ogden?
Is anyone here on behalf of Mr. Ogden? Okay. No. Just so we can say this, that apparently no one indicated they were here on behalf of Mr. Ogden, and he is not personally present.
Okay. Purpose of today's meeting is to canvass votes. We have provisional ballots, absentee ballots, and I think that's about it.
So to the public, the meeting was held according to state law. And in attendance was many people, including 4 people from the Republican Party who were designated to come. It wasn't behind closed doors, as you said on TV. If you want to argue about it, I'll take out, I'll find it. Radio. So, if you want to continue to speak your half-truths, the floor is yours.
Yes, I would. I mean, you are
I
correct.
didn't know we had a black eye downstate either, by the way. We
Well,
had a pretty
there
good
was-
relation down there. You have a black eye with us.
Well, if you look at the ethics committee, and the number of rulings they come up with, you'll look in previous years, they usually have in the neighborhood of 17 to 20, items they have to roll on in a year. There seems to be a statistically high amount of them, around Hancock County. I mean, because that's my whole point. Because when you look at some of the things, it seems like there's either a lack of commitment to the state code or a misunderstanding of the state code. And some examples that I will point out, the health board. Last October, you did appoint, a new member to the health board. And they declared an emergency meeting and did have the vote to add the amendment to the
Was that an
smoking ban.
emergency meeting, Mr. Rosnick, or was that a scheduled meeting?
Everything you see in the paper, they call it an emergency meeting. The meeting minutes call it an emergency meeting, correct? Because if you read the meeting minutes...
It was a scheduled meeting. If you want to get your facts straight, the emergency meeting was to appoint a doctor because their doctor resigned at that point.
and-
Another half-truth.
And that
That's
had-
3 today.
And that it had to talk, I mean, if you look at the definition of emergency, it was an emergency meeting.
It was an emergency because they had a clinic on flu shots, and they had to have doctor's approval by Thursday to administer the medicine. So rather than cancel the clinic, they called an emergency meeting to appoint a doctor.
If you look at the definitions of emergency, I think it's debatable, Joe.
I know. Everything's
I know.
debatable with
It
you.
is.
Yes,
I mean,
it is.
because you're right, because.
That's 3
again,
times today.
We understand you guys have the power.
3
You know,
hands.
same
I don't
thing.
have power.
It's like people, oh, yes, you do. You have the power to
Rudy,
not
speak to
allow
what you want to speak
anybody
to
to
so we
speak.
can get on with our business meeting.
Okay.
We're not the health board.
One of the items I brought before this, commission back in December was about the transfer program out at the animal shelter. And I made the commission aware that, and I believe that, no matter how you want to spin it, you have the state code, and I do have it here, and I know Mr. Lucas understands it, that when an animal is brought into the animal shelter, it is to remain there 5 days prior to it being able to be sold. Well, the code said sold or destroyed, but everybody understands that the code is old. But the fact is that when they pick up a stray animal, your dog wardens, They're supposed to be able to post the description of that animal, in courthouse or in some public place for a 5-day period. That allows the owner of the animal, to try to find their pet if it was just a runaway pet that they picked up. I did have documentation provided, by the animal shelter that shows in the third quarter, 5 animals picked up same day, labeled as strays, and transferred to animal care and welfare. Fourth quarter for you, same thing. There was 5 animals on October the 3rd. Dogs labeled as strays, picked up, transferred to same day, same agency, animal care and welfare. Now, there's another state law that says before you can turn over legal ownership of an animal, once it comes into the shelter, that they all have to be spayed and neutered. Or you must have a statement from whoever is assuming legal ownership of that animal that they will get it, that they will get that animal spayed or neutered within a 20-day period. I was questioning, are these laws being followed? And I asked the commission, to follow up on it. I've heard nothing from the commission. Did any of the commissioners follow up if this is the practice going on out there on transfers? Because there are no written contracts, we know that. Did any of you follow up if state code's being followed out there on that transfer procedure?
Yes,
And what were you told?
that we have contracts.
What about the transfers on the same day?
That we'd have to check on there, but they,
Well, your reporting, which I can give you a copy of your reporting that shows the 5 dogs I referenced on October, I think it's 3rd of last year. And I'm not trying to say that they're doing, that these are big things, but it's just the adherence to the state code. No one seems to think it's important. I mean, you just had an activity at the Board of Education, same thing. They're saying you can't bring something. Huh?
This is a commission
I know,
meeting,
but I'm
please.
just saying, it seems like Hancock County seems to be unique for some reason. And I think I would like to see the commission show the leadership of saying, we're going to turn over, we're not going to be doing this. We are committed to state law. We'll follow it. No matter if it's the animal shelter, if it's at your own public meetings. I would just like to see the awareness there because it doesn't seem to be there. I mean, you do see it happen. Like I said, I'd point that out. So I'd like for you to follow up on what's going on at the animal shelter to see if they are. Maybe they don't know. Maybe they've never been trained out there as of what the rules are. So do I at least have the commitment for the commission to follow up on it and to get back to me in writing?
I will speak. Would you like me to speak now or get the exact animals and give you a couple different things, Mr. Rosnick? One, maybe it's a typo. Maybe in the system they accidentally clicked stray. Maybe not. There are times where the information isn't public. Example, cruelty case. There are times animals can come in on stray status and then get signed over. There's several different reasons why a dog can come in on the same day and leave.
A stray.
Again, I'll be happy to look.
A stray. I mean, they're all labeled strays.
Right. Could it be a typo where this label is stray?
Okay.
There's some things I just can't explain just off the top of my head.
Well, I can agree a typo, but 5 animals in the one report, all typos. 5 animals back in September, all typos. If that's true, then I think I would have somebody taking a look at what reported. I mean, because we didn't have this problem previously with the previous reporting that was replaced. I mean, and the commissioners, especially Mr. Barnaby, had problems with the accuracy of information being provided to the commission. I'm sure you remember that, Mr. Barnaby, before the takeover. Now, since the takeover, if we're hearing there's typos and that what the public is getting when they do file FOIAs is wrong, then naturally what I'm going to be here saying in public is going to be wrong. Because I only speak to the information I'm given. I don't make this stuff up. This is your reports. So I'm not going to belabor the point, but I'm just saying that people need to be aware of what these state laws are, and they need to be followed. And I haven't heard the commitment say that, hey, we're going to take the leadership of that within a county. We're going to be the example for everybody else in this county. We're gonna follow the laws. Any comment on ours?
No, the only
Importance?
thing is, I'm gonna put my faith in what you just heard and the public just heard as to who files mistruths. So they want to believe you or they want to believe me. That's live, you speak. Okay, is that it?
That's it.
Okay.
The court will be
Correspond-
looking into those particular dates.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm just curious, have we received any complaints about, hey, they gave my dog away too soon, I want it back?
I haven't heard of any, but
No.
just for this particular one, check it out and see what the issue was. But no, I have,
And I'll be happy to be able to address at the next meeting the other questions, Mr. Ross.
And I guess the other question, just the fact, how is it always seem to be in one agency the same day when we're talking? I mean, it's animal care and welfare seems to be the ones, when, at least from the statistics that we do see, it seems like they're the ones that, seem to, the day the animal comes in, it's transferred. I mean, I did identify 14, as far as in the third quarter of last year, that were transferred out in less than a 5-day period. I mean, that was in the third quarter, but only 5 of them went.
So you are
same
aware,
day.
though, that the 5 day is a stray hold period.
Yes.
As I explained earlier, there are exceptions and there are sometimes reasons for this to happen that we don't talk about. An example would be a cruelty case, where the information isn't put on there and transferred out the same day. Mr. Lucas could probably address this better than I could.
Those are confidential in many situations for different reasons, so they cannot simply put that on there, what that is. Occasionally for confidentiality purposes, because if perhaps the software doesn't have, for lack of a better word, classified on there, you'll still have a default setting of stray. Maybe there's a way they could mark that otherwise inconspicuously, but that's a lot of the time that's what that is. I don't handle those particular cases, so I can't speak to all the general details of them, but that's what you'll have in some situations.
And that seems a reasonable explanation for 1 or 2 animals. But when you see 14 in one quarter transferred out in less than 5 days, and like I said, I didn't even add up all the numbers for the fourth quarter. I just saw the 5 on the same day, the animal care and welfare. Pretty much stopped then. I can go back and look at it. But it just seems like the state code says that if you pick up a stray, that you write up a description of it, you put it in your courthouse, and you have to wait 5 days. That's pretty much my interpretation of it, but I said I'm not an attorney, but I'm sure that based upon the contract that, Mr. Lucas was involved in a couple years ago, they went into quite a lot of detail about that 5-day standard, according to state law. That after the 5 days, it can be either, sold or destroyed. So that 5-day period was pretty clear to everybody 2 years ago.
Ms. Nicole, on some humane cases, would you state how many animals you might retrieve? from
14
one-
would be a very small number, sir.
Yes, thank you.
Well, I'll be looking forward to your explanations of these animals being transferred. And I heard Mr. Cowie say that you now have contracts in place?
There are contracts for the different things that we do with our adoption.
Absolutely.
Also,
Okay.
to explain the system that they use, there is not one for if, say, I surrendered my animal because I lost my home or lost my job and could no longer afford it. It goes in as a stray, but I may have signed it over. So those instances happen as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm really looking forward to your information. Thank you.
Correspondence. Carol Shelburne, West Virginia Extension Agent, Hancock County, requesting approval to advertise for 2 summer interns. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 2-0. Tabled items. Is there a motion to remove the consideration of approval to purchase 4 new cruisers and the equipment to outfit each cruiser from the table?
Move to take the consideration of the purchase of the cruisers from the table.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. To go along with that, Sheriff's Department has provided us with an RFP, request for proposal, to advertise to bid cruisers. And I do understand that you're still working with our attorneys on
We're working on
the remaining legalities.
Legalities as well as the RFP itself to make sure that it's clear as we can possibly make it. This is towards the possibility of leasing the vehicles, not so much purchasing at this time, but towards leasing the vehicles. Mr. Lucas has been working diligently, actually, with the companies, and as well as what our needs are. So, yes, but we're ready with an RFP with the final draft coming from Mr. Lucas, I believe.
Okay. So is there a motion to approve the request for the proposal pending final draft?
So moved.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Is there a need to remove the Brooke County Committee on Aging request?
I'd like to keep that tabled until we have a chance to go over our budget for this coming year.
Okay. No old business, new business, discussion of Open Governmental Meetings Act. The reason this is on the agenda is I did state last week that we do have the right to limit comments to agenda items. And is there anything you guys would like to discuss on this, whether to remain like that or just to remain an open meeting? Maybe time limits or?
I would like to see that still kept as an open conversation on that, open comments.
Yeah, I'm fine. I think we need to stick to our agenda items, but we still should have an open, a period where discussion can take place and people can speak.
Okay. I'm okay with that. We didn't take any action to change, so there's no need to take any action on this.
Mr. Barnaby, did you want me to give any comment on that? You had asked me to look into it and whatnot. Did you want any comment from me?
No, we were allowed to do it, was the question that
Yeah,
I had
I mean,
had
just-
from you, just to verify that.
I mean, very briefly, I mean, it's, the commission sets the agenda. You determine the county's business. You're the duly elected officials, so you determine what that is and what goes on the agenda, what's going to be covered. You don't even have to have a public comment period. It is not required. Nowhere is it required. Many places do as you have always done, but it is not required, and by all means, you can limit that public comment to items that are on the agenda. Citizens have other means by which to address to you any concerns, questions, items that they want to do. They come in to meet with you personally if they want, but there's no reason that this is your meeting, and on behalf of the citizens you run it, and that's your duty and your authority. So you don't have to have it, and if you do, you can limit it in numerous ways, such as time periods, content, etc. It's up to you. So if you want me to draft something, I can, or you don't necessarily have to have something in writing.
Okay.
But it's up to you.
So the way we did it previously, if we have a large contingent come in and basically speak it upon one item, we can limit it to 2-3 minutes or 10
You
minutes
could do
for the
that.
whole group.
You could do that at any time. You don't
I've
have to
seen
have
where
a
the
large
state,
group, right.
when they had their open committee for education, speakers got 70 seconds
You can do it
because of the amounts. And they decided that right there.
You could have, you could always have a time limit requirement. It doesn't have to be for large groups. You could limit it for purposes of or if there's redundancy, one issue over and over again, you could limit comment on it. There's a number of things that can be done, so it's up to you.
So we can use our own discretion.
Correct.
Okay. Per West Virginia State Code.
Correct, yeah,
Thank you.
for the Ethics Commission and whatnot. And the only thing you're really, like I said, the only thing that you're really required to do in terms of just posting your notices, and you can't force an individual to register more than 15 minutes prior to the meeting to
Right.
give comment.
Well, we leave this up till almost the meeting starts, so. Okay. We'll leave it as is. No action need to be taken. Number 2, consideration of payment for the Hancock County Parks and Recreation audits for fiscal years 15-16, 16-17, and 17-18.
Move to approve.
Any questions?
Karen, you want to comment on that? That was 3 years the state was
It is
behind in
3
getting it
years.
done.
Actually, the county also just finished their
Right.
15-16. So originally Parks and Rec was always audited when we were audited. Because the auditor's office is overloaded, they bid these out. So they bid out all 3 years at once. Obviously, it's a much smaller entity to audit, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Internal budget revisions. Karen?
Yes, sir. These are just adjustments within the departments. It's no change to the overall budget.
Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Any other questions? It's basically line items going to line items.
Yes, sir.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Office of Technology and Communications, consideration of approval of Steve Dixon's resignation from full-time to part-time dispatcher effective March 22nd, 2019.
Move to approve.
Any addition on that, Mr. Biden?
Mr. Dixon has decided that he would like to go back and finish his paramedics certification. So he is returning to school, and he will try to fill terms for us as he can between his work on ambulance and his school.
Okay. Any other concerns? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Probates and estates.
They have been reviewed and are recommended for approval as to form.
Move to approve.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. The exoneration orders?
They're okay.
They're okay? Is there 5 of them?
I believe so.
Take a motion to approve.
So move.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. General county bills.
Yes, sir. The first general county bill I need approval for is a travel reimbursement for Commissioner Davis.
Being that this is a personal matter dealing with my reimbursement of travel, I need to recuse myself and step out of the room, please.
Okay.
Yes, sir. The amount is $1,371.
Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Questions? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries 2-0. Can you summon Mr. Davis?
Mr. Davis?
I'm sorry. The next reimbursement I have is for Commissioner Barnaby.
Okay. And being that this is a personal matter dealing with my reimbursement of travel, I need to recuse myself and step out of the room. Mr. Cowell? Fumble.
Mr. Davis, you were approved also.
Sorry?
You were approved.
Okay.
Mr. Barnaby's reimbursement is $237.80.
Do we have a motion?
Move to approve his reimbursement.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 2-0. Come back in.
Yes, please.
Welcome back.
Yours also was approved.
Okay. Animal shelter levy fund and bills.
Back back up. We still need to do totals for everybody else.
Okay.
General county is $142,114.72. P card payments for all funds is $30,834.04. And also February expenditures, all funds, $757,088.19.
Move to approve.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Animal shelter levy fund and bills.
They're okay to pay.
Move to approve.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Library levy fund bills and requisitions.
They're okay to pay.
Motion?
Move to approve.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Animal sheltered workshop levy fund bills and requisitions.
There was one requisition, and it is okay to pay.
I move that we pay the sheltered workshop. Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Go to the order. Ms. Karen.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Lucas.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
So you got your green tie today.
Yeah, I didn't want to get in trouble with Paige.
We did the best we could. Sheriff? Just have a red one at home, huh?
No green ties on my desk, that's all right.
Mr. Vitus?
I missed the memo, so I have nothing else.
Nicole?
I'm good, thank you.
Good.
They're still looking for mentors for Energy Express, getting ready to plan camp, and that's about it for today.
Okay. Mr. Wright?
Well, there's going to be some changes in the circuit clerk's office here in a couple of months. My chief deputy, Diane Dillon, has decided to take a job with Judge Wilson. She'll still be in the building, but she's going to be the judge's secretary. And Sadie Casto is going to be promoted to chief deputy, and I'll be out to hire somebody. So this will probably take place sometime around the end of May. So they say change is good, but I'm not feeling the love right now.
Oh. Would it be better if you, per se, advertised that as soon as possible and brought someone in so that Ms. Dillon can work?
Talk about that too.
Okay. All right. Sheriff Fletcher?
That's it today, thank you.
Welcome back, Mr. Foley.
Thank you very much. Feels good to be back.
Would you like to speak on anything?
Everything's fine.
Everything's fine? Okay. Commissioner Cowie?
Just want to congratulate those from the animal shelter again for our volunteers for the time they put out, and those that didn't get any awards that still put in time also. And also I want to wish everybody a happy St. Patrick's Day tomorrow.
Mr. Davis?
Nothing today.
I'm going to limit mine to two things. We will have a workshop meeting with the elected officials on March 19th at 2 p.m. There will be no action taken that day. Just review budgets for approval down the road. And our next regularly scheduled meeting will be March 28th at 2:30 p.m. With that said, I move to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. We are now adjourned. Thank you.